Japanese American Isa Sugaseki enlisted in the Navy. Well, that's really kind of important because 1882, we have the passage of the Chinese Exclusion Act. So we have some interesting here. We have 1895, where Chinese American on one enlisted in the Navy. Let's go. I've got a couple more dates. So if I was to say 1898 in naval history, by the way, I always get asked questions, I ask you guys questions. What would you say? What was going on in 1898? Spanish-American War with Allen Dewey. What was Allen Dewey was doing in 1898 aboard his ship? He had about 50 American, he had about 50 Chinese on board that ship. They were crewing. And so he was sending letters back to state treasury saying, I think my crew should be American citizens in 1898. And he was getting letters back like, no. So there were some amazing champions in 1898. And we'll do a couple more dates and then I'm going to introduce our panelists. 1906, San Francisco Board of Education announced measures to send Japanese and Chinese students to segregated schools. The Japanese government protests, and that's when the Jones Agreement was signed in 1908. Also in 1908, in Butara Kumaji, court held that a person of Mongolian race with their parents here, either Chinese or Japanese parents, cannot be naturalized, even with honorable service in the Army and Navy. 1909, the William Knight case, the court held Knight was not a white person, and therefore not entitled to naturalization. 1913, the Alien Land Act prohibits Japanese Americans from owning and leasing land longer than 3 years. I'm talking about all these dates because we have a history. If we talk about our history today, we need to know what our history is based on. Okay, a couple more. 1921. I say 1921, folks say, what happened in 1921 on the history side? By the way, it's right over there. It happened literally right over there. Okay, it's the return of the blood unknown soldier. So when the Olympia comes home, she comes home right on front of you guys. On her ship were Japanese and Filipino students. It's part of our history. Okay, a couple more, and then we're going to introduce. 1925, Toyota versus the United States Supreme Court case. So Japanese Americans who served in the Coast Guard can be naturalized. It's not until the 1940s, folks, the Japanese Americans, Chinese Americans, Korean Americans can become U.S. citizens. That they can, those who can break can do that. So that's our history. If we're talking about our history, we're now going to talk about the folks who are here with us today, because we have 3 amazing panelists. So I have Captain Hank Kim. Now, Captain Kim is amazing, so I reached out to him.
Peter.
Oh, yeah. So last year, I read an article talking about the Korean American Sailors Association. Captain Kim found it, and I immediately cold called him, like, dude, I gotta meet this guy. Because he found his organization. And I followed up, and he said, I can't do this to these, maybe next year. Deployment. I was like, so I immediately called this. Like, okay, you promised, now you gotta come. But now I'm gonna tell you a little bit about it. All right? He's made of Los Angeles, California. All right? Went to a little school called UCLA. Go Rose. And participated in their Navy ROTC program. Got a bachelor's degree in international affairs, specializing in East Asia and gained fluency in Korean and Japanese.
Korean was the easy.
All right, your first assignment was on board the USS Port Royal. So you did that, great.
Yes.
All right.
Port Royal, then I was on the carrier Kitty Hawk, went to a frigate, Vanderdrift in Japan, went to a minesweeper, rotational cruise then, so we had 4 minesweepers, Avenger class. Then I went to a littoral combat ship. Then I went to the Commodore group of littoral combat ships that did mine warfare. Then I went to an amphibious squadron as a Commodore. And then I went to a hospital ship. Now I'm at the Pentagon.
And you have 3 daughters.
I have 5 daughters and 1 son.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Me in a nutshell.
Yes. All right. Now, Commander Tinchman, who's very lovely children over there. Thanks, guys, for coming today.
Oh, you have the biggest fans. That's great.
I know. All right. And the community came because I emailed the captains like, all going to tell you a little bit about Manuel, and he's going to tell the rest of your bio. He's the son of refugees from Vietnam. He enlisted in the Navy in 1998 in the Seaman Apprenticeship Program aboard the USS Blue Ridge in Yokosuka, Japan, right? Okay. So what did you do after that?
So when I joined enlisted, like one of the things that you always tell someone who's joining the Navy is like, hey, when you get to the classifieds, they're gonna tell you, they're gonna sell you the world, right? And then you go and meet reality. And that's gonna be a lot of my theme today to talk about how we reality versus
So you guys, the online people.
oh, thank you, sir. A lot more skills.
No, that's
So I went out to I went to classified, and they were like, oh, hey, we want you to join the Seaman apprenticeship program because you can go out there and decide whatever job you want. I got sold that. Well, I went out there, and it was one of the roughest times of my life. Their seasons it's hard work, it's hot, and long hours, and long work. And so from there, fortunately back then, I was able to apply for the boost run opportunity officer selection training program, which elements of that is coming back. But I was fortunate to be the last class of that before they wrapped that into CV21. And from there, I went to NRTC in Jacksonville, graduated from there, and then went to my first ship as an MCM. And then since there, I went to destroy USS Cape St. George. In a crew day sailor majority of my life. My deployment tour was on the USS Campbell, and then recently I was the commanding officer of USS John S. McCain prior to coming here. I'm a little bit in this in between floating time in the building before I head off to National War College. It's the Navy's community's way of taking care of me. Right before change of command, unfortunately I had a stroke due to COVID. A lot of crazy things have happened in my life. I don't know why, but things happen. God allowed things to happen. And I'm here, and I want to talk about those struggles too, because the fact that that's what makes us successful, is to work through those struggles, and to be able, if you look at me, you're probably thinking, why does he look like he's walking on the drug like that? It's just from the struggle. So, and I joke about it because whether it's mental health or the medical side of it, we must be honest with ourselves so that we can be ready for what is to come. What is to come?
All right. We have one more panelist today, and that's Lieutenant Will Shu. And I've had the opportunity of working with this amazing lieutenant for about 2 years. And every time I call him, I'm like, all right, Will, I need help. Like, got it. And there's no, like, you can't do it. I don't know. Got it. So I'm just giving a shout out to him. I'm going to share a little bit about him, and then he gets to share the rest. So Will was born near Shanghai, China, but grew up in Queens, New York. So I'll ask later when he's working this one. In law school, he focused on international law, competing in several international court competitions. And then in 2014, he served as a legal fellow with the International Humanitarian Law Division of the Red Cross. And then in 2018, you were commissioned as an LTG in the Navy. So what have you done since 2018?
Yeah, thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate it. Thank you for working with me and with the chaplains. So since 2018, I was sent to San Diego for my first tour. And as a new JAG, we do a rotational tour. We kind of dip our foot in a little bit of every aspect of what a JAG does in the Navy. I ended that tour in San Diego as a defense attorney, and really loved that military justice aspect, and so stuck with it. I was sent to Bahrain, where I was a defense attorney there for about 18 months, and I just arrived here in DC, where I'm currently working with military commissions on the 9/11 cases down in Guantanamo Bay. So a relatively new career next to these esteemed panelists, and very, very honored to be included in this conversation.
Well, I'm going to say thank you to everybody for participating. And I'm going to ask you the first question I always ask everybody. Why did you join the Navy and not the Army? And oh, by the way, I'm an Army brat. What did your parents say when you came home and you're like, I'm joining the Navy? So, Captain, you want to start off?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
So I joined the Navy. I think a lot of my peers in my year group can relate to this through a very famous movie called Top Gun. People laugh, but it was the truth. And it was more impactful for me because Korean American community, Asian community at large, but Korean American communities, stereotypes, there's always exceptions, but didn't steer their children towards careers in the military. They mostly revolved around three central themes of career paths: doctor, lawyer, and engineer. I mean, every single time I talked to my parents, and I looked up at them and I said, I don't think I want to do any of those things, nor do you give me too much credit. I mean, that's not easy. And I had some great friends in high school, watched Top Gun, and we thought, riding around a motorcycle, no helmet, flying jets, singing to girls at bars. I was like, this is what I want to do. So I showed a little bit of interest. Of course, the pamphlets came, and I wound up showing interest and joined the NROTC program. And it was a great program. I really enjoyed that opportunity. But I remember talking to my parents about this. And my dad looked at it and he said, son, do you know that we left Korea so that you did not have to join the military? And now you want to join the military. His whole world was just turned around. But I looked at him and I said, I think it's a little different, I don't want Korea out here, like military respected and paid, I think, hence, that's how I started my journey. But we may touch on it a little bit later, but I'll start the lead into a topic that I want to talk about later. But that's one of the reasons why I started the Korean American Sailor Association, to help break some of these stereotypes and provide a support group within the Korean American community that will encourage folks to give them options, but help them make informed decisions so that they can continue their service in this amazing Navy for this amazing country. So thank you.
All right, well, we're going to ask the others, and then we're going to go back to the American Sailor Association.
Well, Denise, I actually was going to join the Army. I just had to get my citizenship paper from my parents, and so I could not join the Army, so I had to go home. I had to ask them for citizenship paper in a different way. I needed for school. I was not doing so well in school. And so for me, I think one of the things that why I joined the Navy was an opportunity. I was going to UT Austin, and I was supposed to be a priest, right? Obviously, I don't have one. I'm not a priest. I have 2 kids and a baby boy. But when after I finished high school, I was like, I'm not going to be a priest. And so I went to UT Austin, but then I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was going there, and I was not doing so well in school. And so I had to figure out what I want to do. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the Army. And then, so I had within my family too, we also had this conversation. And I think one of the things that I was thinking about as the drive over here is like the trauma of war, especially from the Vietnam War on the Peninsula, shaped how my parents, as just Captain Kim's parents, view the military, especially within the Vietnamese American community, when recently they had just came to America, just as I am, just as I escaped on a boat with my dad, a boat refugee, over to America here. And so the same thing, the conversation is like, no, that's when you joined the military in Vietnam, the percentage of death was pretty high. And so that's not why we escaped Vietnam, right? Why do we want to be a priest again? Right, type of deal. And I say, no, that's not what my calling in life is. And so I joined the Navy after our friend, my roommate, and dad was like, hey, why don't you join the Navy? You're doing government, you're not about being a lawyer. Why don't you do that? Obviously, not a priest and not a lawyer, right? And so I went to the Roger Union and they're like, well, dude, your GPA, not so good, right? So you probably need to do this. I went to the recruiting office, and 30 days later, I was in the Navy. Uh, oh my God, right? And like no concept of what that was, right? And my dad was enlisted Air Force, but that's the draft in Vietnam War, right? And so it was an interesting event, but very life-changing. And I think that's has shaped how my career has been and my interactions with senior officers or junior officers is to say, hey, it's all about opportunities and how we hope the door will open or the door will be shut. Now, how do you open the door? How do you walk through that open door? Will?
Thank you, sir. In truth, I feel like every time I get asked this question, I have a different answer. I enjoy it. But in thinking about it, I think as an immigrant coming to this country, it has a lot to do also with trying to figure out what my identity is as an Asian American, as a mixed culture individual. Like I was also a bit of a rebel as a child in terms of career choices, but I have to say yes to my mom in terms of thinking and becoming a lawyer. So in that way, I made her happy. And I turned around and said, but hold on, I'm not going to be a corporate lawyer. I want to do public service. And in picking my careers, I've always tried to deliberately place myself where there were not a lot of people who looked like me. So in practicing international at the Red Cross, there were not a lot of Asian Americans. And being a public defender, there certainly was not a lot of Asian Americans. And each time I did that, I think in a way it shaped in my own head what servicemen and what being an American, being an Asian American meant. And certainly I think my culture and language was very important in each of those roles that I served in. So for example, being a public defender, it was the Mandarin and being able to serve those clients who were coming out of Chinatown in Brooklyn and in Manhattan. That was super helpful to be able to sit down and communicate without any barriers. That was a very valuable experience. And when I after the public defender service, when I looked for next steps, the military was on my mind. I wanted to be able to sort of wear the uniform, with the American patch on my arm and go out there and represent the United States. I mean, that's like the ultimate form of I think embodying, I am an American, right? I have this flag on my arm to prove it. And it's been an amazing experience, especially being overseas in Bahrain, in a base where we have multinational forces, where I get to go out on the track with Bahrainis, and wearing that flag patch on my arm has been very meaningful to me. And I think just my presence there, right, helps define for everyone else across the world what being an American is. And so that's been one of my few of my favorite moments in service. So that's my answer to the question.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, I'd like to touch back on what Captain said a second ago. You mentioned founding the Korean American Sailors Association. Why'd you do that?
Well, first off, I've been to a few of these seminars about a lot of different topics. One was recently at the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Conference. But the common theme is if you want to see improvement, then you should do something. And I just made a small effort. It's not like I have this national conglomerate of, there's like 13 of us, in San Diego. And fortunately, the word has gotten out through social media, and we started a small branch here and down in Norfolk. But it was really birthed out of something that I thought I could have used growing up in the Navy, because there were several times where I felt I wanted to leave. And I actually had people in the Korean American community encourage me to leave and become a lawyer. So I just thought if there was a group of similar culture, similar experiences that I could have tapped into that might have helped me. And there wasn't a group, but there was an individual. He was Korean American. I was an OP at the time when I was on the fence, and he was in 04 working as a flag aide for 7th Fleet, Restore Admiral. And I was just like, wow, there's somebody here who stayed in, is very successful, doing well, and I fortunately reached out to him and became a mentor. And that's the experience that helped spark my thought about, why don't I try to create this small group? And if there's folks that have curiosity about different options in the Navy, we can come together through an opportunity of shared experiences and shared culture. And I always say we can also share some kimchi and soju. Those are always unifying factors. And perhaps talk about opportunities in the military and in the Navy. So that was one of the foundational reasons why I wanted to start.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And if folks want to learn about your association, they should just be contacting you directly?
Yes.
Okay. All right, folks, please. Okay.
We're on Facebook.
You're on
American
Facebook.
Sailors Association.
All right. Thank you.
I'm not blessed, like I came to find an organization, but I did, after I came back from government, there was an organization that was already started, which was called Business American Home Forces Association. And then I joined that, and then we kind of, being a slow, how it's slow, so we just jump into something and then we'll just take that and then just do things with it, right? And so one of the things that we started promoting was really trying to get back to the first question you asked us, why do we join the Navy? Right, and one of that was really trying to help other, others who are thinking about joining the military. Because I think one of the things, like, even though right now we have a big recruiting shortage, one of the things that sometimes I think we haven't really done really well is like, hey, let's leverage this. It's an event like this, that's what helps, right? It's an event here at the museum to do that. But back then, it wasn't really widely accepted in the community. And so we had to go out there. We wanted to go out there and say, hey, they are all successful. You can be successful. You're not going to go to the military and die. That's not the thing, right? This is not back in the war. We're not, in America, it's a lot like this is why we're here. You can serve a country, and the expectation is that you will be successful. You can do a career, and the career will help you, right? And so that's what we went out to do. And now the organization evolved to Business American Uniform Service Association, because then more of the uniform services, the public health, NOAA, and some of the other lesser known non-military came into the organization from that. But to look at now, to look like 10 years ago, the difference in the conversations with the parents. Right? I think that's what's the big thing. It's like seeing senior officers
Change the narrative.
Change the narrative, right? Whether it's the KSA, EAUSA, or these different the Japanese, the JAVA, the Japanese American Veterans Association. Those different organizations help to change the narrative, because if you think back about it, back then there was the Irish organizations and the Italian organizations. These different organizations, as they came to America, they founded all these different things to help support the community. We are still in its working through some of that. But as I was thinking, like, I was getting a haircut today, and one of the person next to me was a priest, and we talked about, like, how do people see vocation, right? This is a vocation for us, right? And then how do we translate that vocation over to the younger generation through these different organizations? I saw it, I just wanted to jump in.
No. So I have a question for you. You shared, so out of this, we didn't do pre-reading. We were kind of like, all right, questions, what are we doing? You shared something that was a little disturbing. You shared some difficulties that you had. You want to share with folks your story?
Yeah, actually, yeah, in line with the theme of one of the things that we encounter sometimes today is the Asian Americans or any countries, like we today have to take the theme, but when is some of the racism, over or over. And one of the things that I shared with Denise, Captain, and Will was that when I first got selected for the boost program, and the captain announced my name on the 1MC on the ship, when I went back to Berlin, I was chased around by one of my shipmates in my division, who said, "Hey," and called me a racist Asian name, and said, says, hey, you think you're better than us, right? My BM1 stepped in, you know, that's one of the things about Dex Siemens and devotions made is they would do that back then. And I know it's crazy to talk about this in front of a bunch of drags, but you know, they would step in to do to take care of things. Right? But he had to go and pull that sailor off. But this sailor wanted my own shipment in my division on this. And thought I was better. It was not that I was better than my shipmates. It's because I applied. My thing was, if I want to hit rock bottom, I'm not going to keep digging. Now that once you hit rock bottom, let's actually start climbing out of it. And so that's what I did. I chose that program, and a lot of people helped me. And a lot of people that were doesn't necessarily mean that they look like me, right? Actually, the one person that there was another good American out there, and he actually treated me like crap, unfortunately. But you know what? Who helped me? Fellow Americans helped me. Almost every race on that ship. And so that's, I think, one of the things about as we encounter difficulties and the reality of what happens in service is that there will be racism, and you don't ignore the racism. You have to confront it, not like physically, but you confront it by making sure that one, it is addressed. Because if we don't address that, those who follow us will suffer the same. And I through my career, I have tried to do that. I'm not out there protesting. I'm not saying that. I'm not out there, you know, taking up arms, taking things like that. What I've done is through my career, help junior sailors, you know, junior officers, hopefully that they to get to be better than me. And that's what's important. That's a legacy that we leave. That's a legacy that we had hoped that we had promised our parents that, hey, join in the Navy. It's okay, we'll adopt, we want a lawyer, we want an engineer, we want these things. Hopefully that's what has helped them see why it was beneficial to do that.
You serve as the chair of the JAC Diversity and Inclusion Committee. That's going to take a lot of time because I've seen some of the work you've been doing. Why'd you volunteer? And not only why'd you volunteer, but what do you want to do? Is that? I mean, what are your goals?
Sure, we didn't brief this question, just to be fair.
I know.
See under pressure.
So I just actually took over from Haley Boone, just wanted to give her a shout out when she's watching. She had been the chair for the last year or so. I think these things are important. Part of it is that it's fun for me to connect with my fellow JAGs and sailors. Not just officers of color or sailors of color, but everyone. But part of it is I think we do have a lot of things to celebrate. And in the last 5 years that I've been in JAG for, we don't just come from different backgrounds, racially and ethnically, but professionally. And a lot of the things I've learned were because my shipmates offered me a different perspective and taught me something. And so I think these events that we're doing and we're putting on allows us to not only celebrate, but understand our differences and allow us to work better together and allow us ultimately to do a better job on our mission at the end of the day. So, yeah, that's kind of a short answer to that.
It is. I mean, I've had the opportunity of working with you for a variety of programs, and I believe that I'm really impressed because your community has been getting together and sharing stories and talking about it, which is very, very important. You've told stories about why you joined the Navy, because I did that with the Hispanic American Association. You told me about why others in college are like, sometimes. But you talked about the successes. So, what is your one success so far in the Navy? What's your one challenge? And what's your one hurdle? I know it's not something we've talked about, but we have a lot of people here in the audience that I think could benefit from hearing what our successes and challenges have been, as in your case, Asian people.
So what are my success and challenges specifically as an Asian American?
Yeah.
I think just being able to sit here right? And participate in this panel, wear this uniform, I think that's a success in itself. I think it's a success for a lot of the people in the JAG Court. One of the biggest things I learned is, especially from the senior enlisted folks, when we have these type of conversations, we have these type of events, and thank you for sharing, sir, about sort of the prejudice that you experienced, is you truly don't know what types of obstacles and oppression or shipments or personal difficulties that they've overcome to get to where they are sitting, whether it's as a senior enlisted leader or as a senior officer. And so through these events, I've learned a lot about that. And so I think for many of us, just being here, having a seat at the table, being a leader is a success. It's a huge success. I think part of that is understanding what our privileges are, and part of that is understanding sort of how unfair it is potentially, and how much, how strong our co-workers and shipmates are to even get to where they are today. So I'd say that's a success. I have to think a little bit about what the challenges are. I think there are a lot. Maybe I can get back to you.
All right.
I can talk about that. Maybe this one. So I would say one of my challenges when I first joined, some of it is tied to culture, some of it may be more about just who I am as an individual. But I think some of us fell into this category, maybe more than others. I look like I was 12 years old when I was an ensign. And that was really challenging. I had repair division, I had whole technicians, it was a rough and tumble group. So that was one of the challenges that I had to go through. The other thing that might be tied a little bit more to culture is that in Asian culture, and especially in my household, we were very, very deferential to authority. It's very hierarchical. My father was, the man of the house, and I grew up in that type of environment where, what the father said was the law of the land and the question. So when I thought in the military, that kind of works well. It's very hierarchical. They order the lawful orders of those appointed over you. The thing is that sometimes in our lives, maybe they were lawful, but they were probably more abusive, especially in the surface warfare. And with my personality, which was originally very introverted and meek, coupled with the cultural upbringing of deference to authority, I really had a difficult time breaking out of that. And I had a department head who just handed my ass to me every day, and I just took it. Thank you very much. And it didn't serve me well. I was not very happy, and I think that was a challenge that I had to overcome. Eventually, again, as I mentioned, time back to this mentor who helped me out and break out of that shell. But on the other end of the spectrum, where I like to celebrate diversity, I'll talk about recent experience. I had the great fortune of being the mission commander on board the USNS Mercy, a hospital ship, to do a humanitarian assistance and disaster relief mission in the Southern Pacific, South Pacific. And we had diversity not only in cultural backgrounds, but also in gender, because I have 40% female, which was way higher than the average of the military. And I half jokingly, but half seriously say that's probably one of the reasons why I had 0 lubricants. They were just so well behaved. I kept everybody else in line. But where I got to see diversity really manifests itself in so many ways. One was just the diversity of thought and the great success we were able to achieve in providing humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, medical, dental, veterinarian, construction support, all of those countries and nations that we had close ties with. But the reaction of many of those leaders that we visited, where they saw the diversity of America. I was the mission commander. I had females out there leading so many events. I had African Americans who looked like the people in many of the islands that we were visiting. And they were all Americans. And, you know, many of us have seen as we travel that nation and, you know, country sometimes is tied to an ethnicity as well as a nationality. A lot of the countries have homogeneous ethnic populations. But America, we're not the only example, but I would say we're a shining example of where that is not true. We have people, as we say, from every race, creed, religion, background, and we're out there. And I was so proud to see the Navy team, the diverse Navy team, lead such great missions out in the South Pacific of all of those countries and showcase what we can do as Americans. So I would say that's one of my highlights of what I personally.
I would say challenge would be that commanding the ship. Commanding the ship. Because when you're commanding it, I know people are like, hey, how personal challenge? No. I think personally wise, you know, until recently, the medical field has been the biggest challenge. Right? But commanding a ship is challenging. Captain has seen this. But when I say that, it's because from the perspective of you're managing 324 personalities, 324 successes and 324 challenges. And there were days, now that I look back, I was like, was I a good commanding officer? Did I do the right thing? Did I have the best of my sales skill? And sometimes I realized I probably did. You know, that was a challenge. Because every day I would question myself and say, am I doing the right thing? Because I'll tell you, my predecessor was an amazing commanding officer. He was a commanding officer. He had a small patrol craft. He had leader command. And so he knew what he was doing. Whereas that was my first time in command. And most O5 commands are like that. And your first time doing that, and you're judged by everybody, right? That you live in a glass house, literally. And so that was my challenge. I was fortunate and blessed to finish command, obviously, and then very successful group, the amazing group. And the reason I say that even more so is because I became the XO of USS John McCain. Right? This is after the collision. I asked Admiral Boxall to advocate for me to go back to sea. Because I was very junior, I was told by military, you're like down in the list here to go back to command. You gotta wait a couple of years. But his intervention helped me to get to sea, and I asked specifically for John McCain. And I was asked why. I said, I don't know why. I feel like God wants me there. Because my wife is Buddhist, and I'm more Buddhist now, but then Christian, Catholic. I keep talking about that. Things in life happen like that, right? And so I went there, and it was the XO where we took the ship back to sea, and I became the commanding officer. And how I met Captain Kim was when Jonathan came up to Fleet Week. But those challenges of rallying the crew that had experienced some trauma, that was actually very challenging. Then taking a crew that was integrating women. What people don't realize was Jonathan King was one of the dozen ships that had not integrated female enlisted. And the Navy didn't do itself any good when it decided to send the E1 to E2 females to the ship. And instead of sending like chiefs, first classes, I had to recruit the first class when I was in school to do that. But that's a challenge. Success was seeing the crew safely get back to sea. Success is seeing my kids as they daily navigate through their little tween years here. And the challenges are that. And my wife I'm not here to plug my food truck business. I'm not doing that. But what I do want to say is we're doing the stroke recovery. I did more research, and that's what my wife wanted to do. So that's a challenge on personal side. I guess I do have a personal challenge, which is helping her to, because she's helped me to get through these 23 years. but totally more. But now I'm gonna help her work on her what she wants, her dream. That's why she's not here right now. Because she's helping, she's working on that. And so that's a challenge that I'm willing to overcome.
Okay. All right, well, I have one last question before we go to questions to the audience. Real fast. Who would you want to interview in the Asian American community that's in the military? And the second part is, okay, we hear from your opinion just a second about bibliography on Asian Americans, the assets we have in the Navy. Whose book should we have in the Navy library?
Let you answer.
Who I could picture.
Yes, Asian American.
There's actually a civilian in San Diego who was in the Navy, now is serving in the Marine Corps, who's, I don't know, I really don't know, but he is single-handedly, well, not single-handedly, but he truly made my first war so memorable because he firstly has such a long history in the Navy. He was Miss Filipino, and he joined the Navy out of our sort of basic agreement program as a Filipino national. He's in the Navy back then when there were laws restricting more babies, Filipino nationals could become more active advice here. Served in the Navy for several decades, eventually became an LBO, and then retired and stayed in the Navy. And so the limited amount of stuff he's told me about his history, how he became an American, how he joined the Navy, and sort of his sea stories has been incredible. A few times he was able to share with me. But also now, as a civilian in the admin team that we have in San Diego at the Regional Legal Service Office, he has been sort of a mentor to every junior officer going through that office, just like a natural mentor. Always our biggest cheerleader, always sort of working in the background, making sure that we understand the culture, we understand what being an officer means, we're going against jazz, and so that's something that we really need to learn. And so I feel like he's one of those unsung heroes, but such an important part of the Navy and Navy history. And I'm sure he has so much more interesting stories, history, things to share. And he, I think, absolutely embodies what it means to be a great sailor and a great sort of mentor. And so I wish I could interview him so that his story is sort of more or less. That would be my answer. Book-wise, Travis, I should right there, was just talking about one of our favorite books, which is The Lost Enemies by George Takei. Yeah, he talks about his Japanese intern, the personal experiences with families that were interned, American families, right? Japanese families that were interned back in World War II, right? I think that story is so important because we need to learn our mistakes in order to not repeat it again. So, what we did to our fellow Americans, I think that's you know, it deserves to be remembered, it deserves to be remembered so that happens.
Or somebody that I think would be a good person to interview and learn more about is a shipmate of mine, now retired, Rear Admiral Philip Yu. He is Taiwanese American, was a submarine officer at first. He was also a role model of mine. We met and we were both flag lieutenants for our respective admirals. And just an amazing individual who had grit and tenacity. Was one of the first officers to join the ranks of a foreign area officer and converted over to that. And really a trailblazer for that community. And with his background in diversity, I think he really enhanced that program. He eventually worked his way up to the ranks, was defense attaché in South Korea, U.S. defense attaché in South Korea. So he spoke Chinese, he spoke Korean. And then before he retired, was the senior attaché in Moscow during the whole Ukraine conflict. So I think he would have an interesting background and would
be a worthy person to interview. In terms of books, I read a lot. I spend my entire day reading emails. I mean, and the attachments.
Okay, last one, I can see now. All right, does anybody have any questions for us? Any questions? All right, does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm in a room full of no questions, which means you get Penny over here talking about quickly about her bibliography. Come on up here, Penny. I'm going to give you the microphone.
Okay.
Penny is a rock star and has created several bibliographies, which are books, they're not emails, but you can read them. So we can do this. Come on, Penny.
Hi, everyone. My name is Penny Weinstein, and I am a reference librarian at the Navy Department Library, which is just that way. We're a little library that's existed since 1800, founded by John Adams. We moved here, there, everywhere, but now we're in New York. We're currently moving one building over, so we are closed at the moment. But we are still trying to help people. And part of what I really enjoy is talking about how the strength of our diversity and how when we think of the military, we think of like things like Top Gun, and it's not everything's like that. And these different groups have been really instrumental to the success, especially in the Navy. So big fan of books. I created several bibliographies. I did one for Filipino American Heritage Month. And obviously the Filipino community has a long history with the Navy, but so does every other Asian nationality, ethnicity. It's been really important. And the history, as you know, goes back so long. We don't think about it that way. So some books that I'm really interested in, just of note, I found a book recently that we purchased, Okinawa's GI Brides, Their Lives in America, talking about the role that spouses played in their integration into American society. Let's see. There's some like classic books on here about like dealing with racism and integration, but I also think it's important that we discuss the triumphs and the happy moments, because these are people's lives. It's not, hopefully not all just one dark pit of despair. They're doing things, they're living, they're enjoying. The command itself, Naval History Heritage Command, produced like a little brochure in 2011, Asian Pacific Americans in the United States Navy. But we also in the library have quite a few first-hand narratives and memoirs. And I really like those for getting these unique perspectives, people talking about their own lives, or sometimes their descendants talking about what their parents and grandparents went through. And we also have some books on different specific Asian American and specific nationality groups, thinking about like the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. It's just one. So we do have things that aren't just Navy. We do collect Army, Air Force, Marine Corps. Marine Corps gets a little iffy. They don't like they're under us necessarily. Let's see some other books that are calling out to me. And this is going to be on our website at history.navy.mil. So we have a lot of books on the World War II period, as you would expect. We got a lot of World War II dads. I think everyone has one at home. So, like different ways that the Navy has interacted with people in Asia. Like we have a book on colonial disease, U.S. Navy health policies in the Chamorros of Guam. We don't talk about Guam that much. Big Navy presence. We've really impacted the people there. Let's see. We also have quite a bit of information on our website for the people that don't have time to pick up the book. I've already been oftentimes at time, except when I'm answering questions. But we have a lot of articles on our website written by a great team of historians, PhDs. You trust their backgrounds, you trust their resources, and it's like we have some Bureau Naval personnel materials, some articles.
Is this all all electronic books? Or you can come here and check them out?
So if you have a CAC, you can check out from the library, but I'd also recommend that anyone with a CAC do DoD MWR libraries. And you can use that all over the world, and that's a great resource for ebooks, audiobooks, a whole variety of things like the Overdrive app and Libby. And my last big pitch that I always like to do is the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress. Everyone should do it. It's important that you record your story. It's started decades ago, and essentially anyone can submit one to the Library of Congress. It'll be held in posterity. They're all searchable on their website. You can just do a keyword search and like look up a particular ship, a particular nationality, gender, anything, and you will probably find someone else's story, and I find them really inspiring and are a great resource for further research, should you want to go on. And yeah, so the library, we are currently closed, we're reopening in the fall, bigger space, we have lots of interesting things. Want to do some more outreach and get some more people in, especially lawyers of books. We have a lot of artifacts as well. And while the museum is closed, we want to show some people more of our stuff. Like we were talking about the start of the Spanish-American War. The library has the capstan to the USS Maine.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, this command has a wealth of resources, and we really want to help people learn more about the history so we can make some new history and grow from it. So thank you all very much.
Thanks, Betty. So we've been blessed to have some amazing partners. We've been standing by this year doing all these events. So I just want to say thank you. And with that, I need to hand the microphone over to Vice Admiral Crandall, because, well, again, we've been lucky to have a very strong partner.
Thanks very much, Denise. As everybody knows, me, I'm taking notes, I've got a few things I want to say. But first of all, a round of applause. I really have to say thank you. This is talk 1v3 because there's so many parallels in some of our lives. I too looked really young when I reported as an ensign on my first ship. My first chief grumbled at me, "I thought you were some kind of deck seaman coming on board, and it turns out you're my new diva." He was like completely embarrassed by me. So there we go, we share something common. Here's what I'm going to say. When Will talked about the pride he feels wearing the flag in his uniform, it really made me think of a book I just read. I'm surprised nobody mentioned this book. It's called Facing the Mountain by Daniel James Brown, who wrote Boys in the Boat. And it's historically accurate, but he did a lot of research, and it's all about Japanese Americans and their internment and the many sons in these families who volunteered to serve and served in some of the toughest battles in World War II, and incredible casualty rates and the challenges they faced amongst one another. There were very differing views about whether to serve or not when their families were being interned, and should you serve a country that takes away the rights of your families. There were challenges with other soldiers from other backgrounds. There were challenges between the Japanese American soldiers who were from the continental United States and those who were from Hawaii. It's just an incredible history. It's a really great read, and I would recommend it to everyone because they were, for those who chose to serve, and very, very many did, it was about wanting to show they too were Americans. And it's just powerful. So yeah, if you get a chance, read that book. And you know, you can read it for a little bit, put it down and read it. It works. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. The other thing I think I would just take away from today is this whole idea of why do we do something like this and what's the power of it. I think the idea that we are here for opportunity. I hope we're all here for opportunity. We all realize the opportunity that the military affords us to do whatever we want to do. For me, it's one of the reasons why I'm still here many years later, watching young sailors grow and do anything they want. And sometimes that means separating and meeting another life on the outside. It's just incredible what people can achieve. And, this idea of rallying around challenge, whether it be the trauma on the crew because you chose to serve on a ship that was coming out of a really difficult spot, or other challenges we all face. It's this idea that we are going to be stronger as a team if we at least understand one another, know a little bit about where we come from, how we think, and we all come from a different story. But it's that differences among us that really makes us stronger as a team. And so that's what I get from those kind of these events. It's reminding us the power of teamwork. And that's what it takes, right? Trust and respect builds teams, and that leads to war fighting advantage. And that's what the CNO charges us to do every day. So thank you for sharing so that we are a better and stronger team. And Denise, I want to thank you for co-sponsoring with us and being a very great partner with the JAG Tour as well. And with that, I think we're done. So thanks, everybody.